I've wiped tears, but I've also celebrated because so many people go, oh my God, I should have done this years and years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's just about frequencies. It's about just planning and knowing when stuff is due.
Welcome to The Glass Ceiling, the podcast where business leaders share their stories, struggles and triumphs.
There is a lot in that. There's a lot of learning.
We sort of had different views on how the business should be ran.
The next 10 years looks like for South Australia.
Startup's the easiest.
I'm your host, Marissa Hankinson from Wavebreaker, and I'm passionate about amplifying their voices. Join me as we explore the highs and lows of innovation, entrepreneurship and leadership. From founders to CEOs, our guests will share their insights, experiences and advice on how to succeed and make a lasting impact. Get ready for inspiring conversations and valuable lessons. Let's shatter the glass ceiling, one story at a time. Welcome to The Glass Ceiling. Can I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Marissa. My name's Samantha Boardman, and my business is called Spending Made Easy.
Okay. So can I ask, what is Spending Made Easy?
So Spending Made Easy is my business, and I called it Spending Made Easy because I literally make spending easy. So, a lot of people say to me, oh, I make spending very easy. I'm always in debt because I spend too much. What I mean by Spending Made Easy is we're all spending, whether it's on our savings, whether it's on our rates, our taxes, we're getting money in and then we're spending it. I make that process easy. So yeah, Spending Made Easy.
Okay. So you came up with the controversial book that you wrote a few years ago, which is Budgeting is Crap.
Yeah,
So
I did.
Tell me why.
So budgeting is crap. And I believe that people do believe budgeting is crap. So yeah, it's my story. It's a true story about my life budgeting from my very first memory of budgeting, which is when I used to take the police dog for a walk because my dad was a policeman. I used to take the police dog every day for the Manchester Evening News back in Manchester. And I was given...
did the Liverpool Echo.
Did you Liverpool Echo? The Liverpool Echo. Yeah. So we did Manchester Evening News, and back in the day it was 8p or 8 pence, and my dad used to give me 10 pence. And so obviously I was allowed to spend the 2 pence for going, and I used to take the police dog as protection. So yeah, that was my very first memory of budgeting, and I've struggled, or I have struggled over the years with budgeting because my father believed that if you earned money and brought money into the household, that you contributed to the household. So he put the rent up so much so that I could no longer afford to live at home. And the book is about what I did about that, because I said to him, Dad, I can't afford it. I've got all these outgoings and it doesn't add up. And he said, work it out, Sam, because, you're paying this amount to live here. So the book is all about, my first memory of budgeting, going through my life of what I did to at that point where my father said, work it out, Sam. And I did. I had to think outside the box. And what I did is in the book.
Okay, so I'll be reading that.
Good.
So who are your typical clients? Who is coming to you and asking for help?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I would say that the majority of our clients are single mums. Lots of single mums, as we know, in today's world. There's lots of blended families or people breaking up over stresses and stuff. And often I find with couples, one of them did the finances, did the day-to-day finances, and one of them didn't. So, and I do get a lot of male clients as well, but the majority are single mums. On that note, I do have clients who earn over $300,000 a year, and I've got clients who earn purely benefits. So at Spending Made Easy, we create spending plans, and spending plans are for everyone.
So how did you become a spending planner?
So I did corporate world back in the day for 20 odd years. And when I was made redundant from British Aerospace, had a year off, did volunteer work, raised a guide dog puppy, did some volunteer work at Lifeline. So I answered the phone at Lifeline, which was quite, interesting and a challenge. And then I just thought, what am I going to do with myself for, the rest of my life? And I didn't want to go back into the corporate world. And I've always fancied having my own business. So I created Spending Made Easy. I was introduced to the Spending Planners Institute, where they train spending planners and they teach you how to use the software, how to become a spending planner. It's a 3-day course, and I did that. And basically you create your own ABN and your business name, and then we just pay a license fee to use that software. So
Okay.
it's awesome. Yeah, the spending planners software is epic and it can project 10 years into the future. So
Wow.
it's a game changer. Yeah.
So how long have you had the business?
8 years now. In July, it was 8 years. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any stories that you could tell us about people who've come to you and how you've helped them?
Oh, a million. And that's the reason why I do it. It literally is the text messages I get, the emails I get. I've got, and often my favorite sort of testimonials, if you like, are the ones where people go, oh, I don't want to share it because they're very private about their finances. But I always say, do you mind if I talk about it? I just won't name names. So yeah, I've got a client who once wrote to me, she was referred to me by a friend. She'd separated from her husband and she didn't know, which way was up. And she signed up to my program, did my 6-month program. And then she sends me emails saying, I don't know what you did, Sam, but I had $1,300 in my bank account today and before I got paid, and I got paid today. How did that happen? And I go, it's not normal to have money in your bank account because generally, you're whittling it down and then you top up.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't believe I had $1,300 in my bank account the day I got paid, before I got paid. And I said, it's not me. It's just a system, and it's my clients often give me credit for their bank balances, but their bank balances are going to be their bank balances. I just help them manage it better. And once they're managing it better and they can see into the future using the 10-year forecast, they can tweak things around and just make better decisions. And yeah, I've got a million stories of, my $300,000 client, the one who earned $300,000. He's a builder. He project managed the Royal Adelaide Hospital. And he did not have any, when I met him, he had no savings, no super. He didn't even have a house. He lived with a girl he met on the internet, which is, of course, is completely normal these days. But he didn't have any savings. And he was in his 50s. He didn't have any super. And he banged his head on the kitchen table saying, I'm useless, I'm useless. And I was like, I don't think they let useless people build hospitals. I'm pretty sure you're good at that.
Yeah.
You're just not very good at managing your money. And he had no clue where all his money was going. So once we set him up, he did the 6-month support and guidance. I referred him on to financial planners and to build his wealth.
Yeah.
But I literally just showed him, how to do his day-to-day finances. And then seriously, that week or a couple of weeks either side of that, I signed up a client who earned purely benefits. And she has an autoimmune disease. She can't work. So she gets she did at the time, $540 a fortnight. And her mantra in life, because a lot of this is how you were raised, what's installed in you, installed in her was saving 10% every time you get paid. So she saved $54 a fortnight, and she had over $8,000 in savings when I met her. Yet the guy who earned $300,000 had no savings. So it's not what you do. It's it's not what you've got. It's what you do with it.
Yeah. So when you did your year in Lifeline, or volunteered at Lifeline when you had that year, how has that training helped you with your clients?
Yeah, great question. It's a challenge working at Lifeline, I'm not going to lie, but it's the training that they give you, because you do a lot of training. It's there's nothing that I haven't heard really. In general, like a lot of my friends come to me for help and advice, and they know I'll be honest and, sometimes a bit too honest, but that's just the way I am. From Northern England, we call a spade a spade. But the Lifeline was a real eye opener, because when you've talked to, a 14-year-old boy who is planning on, ending his life, and what you say to him, hopefully, is going to change that, then it's really quite rewarding. But it also sets you up for because there's nothing that can't be undone, or you can't fix, or at least attempt to fix. So yeah, Lifeline was good. It was interesting.
So you spoke about single mums, and you spoke about marriages and separations and things like that. Do you think finance is a catalyst for quite a lot?
Absolutely. I believe that if, research says that the amount, people are divorcing over, the financial situation and money problems and arguing with your partner over money. I had a client once who was arguing with her husband, and she was saying, we're living beyond our means, and I'm arguing with him, and I can't stand the amount of money he spends on cigarettes and because he smoked, and they were arguing about anything and everything. And for 6 months, she said, I need your help. And because she was my friend, she was going, I'm a bit ashamed, I'm embarrassed. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed. There's nothing I haven't heard. I can help you. She waited the 6 months. And then after 6 months, that was just her procrastinating. She signed up. We did the 6-month support and guidance, and we proved to her that we had over $12,000, because on the spending plan, it showed you income versus expenses. She had over $12,000 a year that we couldn't account for. So that was over $1,000 a month. And she was like, why are we arguing then if there's $1,000 a month surplus? And she said, you're telling me that I've wasted $1,000 a month. I thought, well, I'm not telling you that you're wasting it. I'm telling you that it's there. This spending plan demonstrates that it's there. And these days, with people tapping and going and just not paying attention, nobody's planning ahead. So when we did the spending plan and she did sign up, she got frustrated because she'd procrastinated for 6 months. She said, I just wasted six grand. She said, if I'd have done this before. Anyway, and then she started saving $1,000 a month. And then she actually used the spending plan to downsize because they ended up, and they didn't break up and they stopped arguing. So I think a lot of things are centered around money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us an example of break down this 6-month support program.
Yeah.
Because does this software, is the software tied into your bank account so you can see everything, and then that gets give us. Yeah. I'm trying to imagine it, but I'm struggling.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So a spending plan. So if you picture, I think the best way to explain a spending plan is if you went in your bank account right now on your phone, and you'd have your bank balance.
Yeah.
There'd be a load of transactions, wouldn't there? But they'd be historic. Yeah, whatever you spent yesterday, last week, it would all be historic. But your bank balance would be your bank balance today. What a spending plan is all of your transactions going forwards. So your rent, your gas, your electric, your coffees, your cigarettes, your rates, your whatever, your holidays, everything.
That forward planning.
It's forward planning. So that's literally what it is. And it's got pretty graphs. And as I said, it shows income versus expenses. There's a pie chart that shows you where your money's going. So literally your expenses. So you can see, it's going on, accommodation or kids or mortgage or bills or utilities. Whereas some people's are Afterpay, credit cards, and you can see, flipping heck, a lot of my money is going there. I need to rein it in. So it's a really good visual.
Because then you've got all that interest and that's just compounding. So
yeah. And it's really visual. And the idea is with a spending plan, we live in the green. So when all the figures are green, that means you're in credit. As soon as you're going to go overdrawn, it will tell you the date and the time you're going to go overdrawn and by how much. So you think, if I fill the car up a different time because of paydays, and it's just all frequencies and just organizing things. And because you can see it before you get there, it gives you the ability to change things before you get there. Going back to what you said about, is it linked to your bank accounts? People often ask, is it linked to your bank accounts? And they go, I wish it was linked to your bank accounts. It's not linked to your bank accounts, and it never will be. And the only way I can describe that as a scenario is like you wouldn't link an Excel spreadsheet to your bank account, because you'd have your Excel spreadsheet here and you'd go, that's fine. And then replicate it on your real life bank, your real life bank account. So it's not going to be linked to your bank accounts. Plus you play with it. You can go to, you might go out and say, I need a new car, fancy that car. The car, the salesman says it's an extra $200 a week. Rather than go, $200 a week now, you can go home, go to your spending plan, go, right, $200 a week. Oh, that means I can't afford. Flipping heck, look how much debt we're going to get into if we take that on. Right, I'm not going to buy the car. So it's a tool that you play with, that you mess with, that you use to plan ahead. And once you're happy with it, then we replicate your bank accounts on the software. And as soon as you've done it, like it's the setting up and everything is the hard bit. You do all the hard work up front, and then it literally takes 2 or 3 minutes a week to update.
So a lot of the time it's more about informed decisions in your spending rather than being reactive and then having to face the consequences.
Exactly. And if you are reactive or do an impulse buy or, buy something you shouldn't, then at least you can deal with it and it'll tell you the effect you just had on that purchase. And I can't tell you the difference that it makes in people's spending and their attitude around money when it's their figures that are in the spending plan. I can demonstrate it and do demos and fictitious clients and go, let's pretend the rent is this, let's pretend. And go, yeah, that's great. But as soon as, particularly
physical.
Like the single mums go, right, how much are you paying in rent? How much you pay on food? How much do you spend on this, that, and the other? And they go, flipping heck, I didn't realize I was spending that much. And then when we see what they've got coming in, they go, I need to, I've seen clients and they've gone, flipping, I literally need to get another job. And I had one client who literally went out that weekend and got a job at a bakery on a Sunday because Sunday rates and, She was working the rest of the week. And she got a job at a bakery on a Sunday just because she could see that she needed an extra $200 or $300 a week. But the majority, I have to say, of clients there's so much more coming in than going out than they realised. So I do have a client, Tammy, who is more than happy to be talked about. She did a film testimonial on my website, and she came to me and said, I need to get a second job. And she said, I don't know when I'm going to do it because where I live, I work over an hour away. I've got 3 children. I'm a single mom. I don't know where I'll get the second job from or when I'll fit it in. And she did the spending plan. And now she's loving herself sick because she didn't need to get a second job. She's actually saving and she's actually putting more off her mortgage she's getting the same money. She's just organising it better. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think's happening with people now at this cost of living? This is it seems to be the buzzword at the moment, and people are being impacted with interest rates, and they're having to, as I would say, Northern saying, cut their cloth accordingly every month.
Yeah.
How does this happen? How is this helping with your clients?
Yeah. So I think, because you only have to look at the TV and people are coming off fixed rates. And some of the stories I've heard about people's increases from going off their fixed rate, some are having to pay fined $500 or $700, a fortnight or whatever, or even more. It's crazy. And with a spending plan, you can literally put those figures in because the bank warn you, don't you? They don't tell you on the day your mortgage is going up by this much. So, and everybody warns you, like your gas, and when my electric goes up, I get a month or two's notice. So I'm always updating my spending plan, and then you can see what effect that's going to have. So I think that everyone is struggling right now. People are trying to fit more into less because our wages aren't going up as much as what everything is, like with the cost of fuel, cost of utilities, interest rates, and all the rest of it. So I think it's just managing your money better. And sometimes you can cut back on a few things. Like you don't have to cut back on one big thing and go, I'm going to have to move that. If you go, if I have, a coffee every other day instead of every day, or I do this and I do that, I had a client once who had 2 gym memberships and he wasn't going to one of the gyms, but because he didn't look at his bank account, he didn't notice. And people just aren't paying attention. And I think if you pay a bit more attention to your finances, cut back on a few things, and then plan ahead, because they're still going to charge you that. Like burying your head in the sand is not going to make the bank go, all right, then we'll just leave it as it is. You've got to plan ahead. You've got to know what's coming and confronting it, and knowing what's what is the key, I think, knowing that it's coming and then dealing with it. And sometimes it's hard and confronting. And that's where I come in. I'll sit there, I've wiped tears. But I've also celebrated because so many people go, oh my God, I should have done this years and years ago, because it's just about frequencies. It's about just planning and knowing when stuff is due.
Yeah. I've done that a few times, even basic on my iPhone with an app.
Yeah.
And I've done a trial, or it's been a special offer for 12 months, Usually, I'll be really honest, it's usually my New Year's resolution. I'm going to get fit and go on a diet, and I've signed up to this app. And then 12 months later, I get $140 kicked out of my bank account. And I'm like, what's that for? And it's turned out to be just an app subscription.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. So even just basic things, you've got good intention.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you just realise that, or I think it's actually sometimes the smaller stuff that you don't realise.
Exactly.
You get rid of the smaller stuff and then...
Yeah, and that's what we do. So on the 6 months plan, which is what the majority of my clients do, the 6 months plan, whatever situation, or they often say I'm a mess, I'm in a mess, whatever mess they deem themselves to be in, we draw a line in the sand and we start off with the basics. We talk about wants and needs, because you don't need a pair of shoes in every colour. You need a roof over your head, clean running water, and food on your back. That's what you need. And so we start off with the basics.
Food on your back?
Is that what I said? It's all right. Food on the table, clothes on your back.
That's it.
Sorry.
That'd be something I would normally say, to be honest. I always get...
can we edit that bit out?
No. If there is ever a quote, you can guarantee Marissa will do a merger of 3 of them.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
So clean running water, food on the table, clothes on your back. That's
and a roof over your head.
And a roof over your head. That's it. Yeah. So that's what you need. Yeah. And everything else is a want. So we start off with the basics. And so many people, we say, and my number one top tip of budgeting is always, 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 hands down, start with your outgoings. So many people start with your incomings and then they spend it all and they just go, yeah, I accounted for it all. Whereas if you go, no, like just forget about your income for now, right? How much is the rent? How much is the food bill? How much are the gas, the electric and all the rest of it? And then go, right, and the spending plan will tell you you're committing to $500 a week. Oh, good, because I get $700 a week. And when you plug in your $700 a week, you can see that buffer that you've got extra. It's awesome.
I feel like I need to do some sums.
Happy to help you.
So if somebody did want help, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So at spendingmadeeasy.com.au, there is some film testimonials. There is also, because I like people to do their research, even though I say to people, yeah, did you look at my website? And they go, no, I just want you to help me, so I get that. But on my website, there is my email address, my phone number. You can also request a call back and I text you and say, when's a good time to call? Or you can schedule in a time on my diary. So there's various options. And, people often message me on Facebook Messenger and stuff. So Spending Made Easy is on Facebook. So yeah, it's pretty, I believe I'm pretty easy to get hold of. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I've made it easy.
Yes.
As well as spending made
Well,
easy.
if people are at that point, you want to make sure if they've reached that point, not procrastinated for 6 months like you spoke about with one of your clients, you can make a difference.
Yeah.
So you just want them to be able to.
Exactly. And I think as well, there's what I struggle with clients is that they feel that there's a certain amount of shame attached to asking for help on budgeting, which is why they don't want, to be filmed or do a film testimonial or whatever. But there is no shame in asking for help, I don't think, because I always liken it to fixing a car. Like when my car, starts making noises or doesn't run very well, you can lift the bonnet. I can stare at it as long as I won't know what to do because I don't know what I'm looking at. And with a budget, to me, it's like a Rubik's Cube. You give a 12-year-old a Rubik's Cube and he goes, done. And I can do, I literally look at somebody's budget and go, yeah, I know what to do. I know what I'm looking at. I know. And it's like a huge jigsaw, like the bigger, the better for me. And people go, oh, and I love it when people say, I'll be your worst client. Because I go, oh, let me out. Yeah. Because I do. I literally do. And people say, I don't need to budget. I haven't got any money. And I go, that's why you should be budgeting. Like you still have bills. I say, how are you paying for your phone and, your food and stuff? We've all got outgoings. So, yeah.
So we've just spoken about the car analogy.
Yes.
Do you forecast for that expense of a vehicle, or is it just, you need to have savings for those things that crop up that you weren't expecting to crop up? What is the method that
a lot of people haven't got, first of all, with some clients are just are living, very, very frugally and there's not a lot of excess. But as we grow, we try and build an emergency fund and we assume things and we'll put stuff aside because so many single mums go, and I really want my kids to go on school trips and stuff. So we'll put a bit away each time for school trips and things like that. So as we grow, we build an emergency fund. Hopefully there's enough money in there to build an emergency fund as well. But at the start, as I said, we do the basics. We make sure you've got a roof over your head, clean running water, food on the table, clothes on your back. Nailed it.
But I suppose, as you say, it's better to have put $2 a week that will turn into 200 later on than this unexpected spend further down the line.
This is it. I've got a client recently who's nailed all her bills and all the rest of it. And now she's gone, I've got actually 50, according to the spending plan, she goes, I've got $15 a fortnight left over. She goes, I'm putting that in the mortgage because I need to put it somewhere.
Yeah, and it's better to be in the mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. And in her world, she's paying off a mortgage, which she never thought she would be. Now, some financial whizzes might go, it's not very much, 15, but it is because she's chuffing away at it. And now when she gets a pay rise or something, she might make that $40 or $50 or, because it's all structuring your finances.
Is there anything you think that we haven't spoke about that you would like to say?
No, there is no shame in asking for help, as we know. And it's my tagline of Spending Made Easy is, it's not about the income, it's about the outcome. And I absolutely love that, as we've discussed with the two, with various clients. It isn't about what you've got coming in, it's about what you do with it. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there is that when people earn, the more they earn, just more they spend.
Absolutely.
Which is something that does happen. And then you realise, how did I used to earn X amount of money before and I'm still in the same situation with no money?
Yeah, I wished I had a spending plan when I worked at British Aerospace earning $100,000 a year. I would be way wealthier for sure because I would have started with my expenses and there would have just been surplus. But
Yeah. And then you can use that surplus for future wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we all learn.
We do.
We're all learn. We're not,
Yeah.
when you're in your 20s and your 30s. But so actually, that's a really good question. What is your youngest client?
Youngest client. I did have somebody's daughter once who one of the success stories said, can I sign up my daughter? So she was a teenager.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, so just think of the impact you're going to have on her.
I know. And start them young, hey, because yeah.
So, and I think that's really interesting, but that it is, I think we're going to get the analogy wrong, Sam. I can feel it. If you teach somebody to fish, they'll eat for life.
Yes.
And this is what you're doing. It's about the teaching and the education.
Exactly.
Was that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So teach a man to fish. Yeah. And I often get asked, do I have access to your bank accounts? I don't have access to your bank accounts. I don't even need to know how much people earn. And even though people share it with me because they're sharing a lot of stuff with me and they're very open and it's nice that they share that with me. But I have conversations with like financial planners all the time. They go, how do you help people with their budgets and not know how much they earn? And I say, I don't need to. They share it with me, but I don't need to know. As I said, we do your expenses. Say, right, you're committing to $500 a week for your bills. Do you have $500 a week? Yes, right. Put that in the bills account. Right. Now we go to a fluffy account, the stuff that is fluctuating, like your petrol, your food, your going out money. You might not go out some weekends, but you might go out a few times or go to see a couple of shows. If like at the minute, there's loads of shows on in Adelaide, isn't there? So, you know what I mean? So you go through peaks and troughs. So we say a fluffy account where fluffy. Yeah, I do love a bit of fluff.
I'm just thinking on this because you're Northern, I'm Northern, and we've got us in the conversation. You'll be like, the fluffy.
The fluffy, yes. The fluffy account which is your triple FI. So it's your fun, food, fuel and incidentals. And then we say, right, how much do you spend on that? So that's say $200 a week. So we put $200 a week in that. If there's any left, then put that in the savings. So in that scenario, I didn't ask anybody how much they earned. But like I said, generally they're sharing them because they're doing the warts and all. And they've generally, I think a lot of them have generally got to sort of the end of their tether and they think, I can't do this on my own anymore. I've tried. I need help. And they sort of surrender to me and go, right, I need help. And then we draw a line in the sand and we move on.
Okay. Fantastic. Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Glass Ceiling. If you've liked what you heard, please subscribe, as we'd love to have you as part of our community. We're grateful to our guests for sharing their inspiring stories and insights with us. This podcast was brought to you by Wavebreaker. Join us next time as we shatter the glass ceiling, one story at a time.